it's complicated? Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now, with this whole thing, it's quite a loaded question. Where did I even come up with the idea for this notion? Well, it turns out that it had something to do with the brand new official Dragon Ball content website. You know, the one which Geekdom covered and brought to our attention a few months back before it went live, and now it's live and it's actually pretty good. There, it's supposed to be a compendium of upcoming content for the franchise, as well as a proper depository for the sheer amount of archival content for the franchise going back nearly 40 years. In short, it's meant to be your one-stop shop for finding out the latest news on the show, catching up on what has already been explored, and probably being one of the most viable sources for information and news outside of Kanzenshu. Well, the theory that we have all started with similar events and the timeline that occurred when the official website came out for the new Dragon Quest anime a few months prior to that. That and the Dragon Ball website, if you look at them together, they're practically identical in form and function, to provide news, information, as well as cool little extras for fans of said properties. Well, when the news of the Dragon Ball variant came out, people got to speculating as to the main reason why this site should even be existing. Some reckon that, a brand new anime of Dragon Ball Super was coming out in a few months' time, or at least something pretty major was going to come out. Not that just necessarily it would be that the makers of Dragon Ball just wanted to have a cool looking website where everything was in one place. It could easily just be that too. But yeah, most people assume that it would be Dragon Ball Super returning sometime in 2021. Most likely delayed because of the Roni Rona and because the Dragon Quest anime came out 6 months later when the website came out. I don't think that's a Shueisha thing of releasing a site and then months later an anime comes out, but hey, might be, don't know yet. But yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Another theory that came about, which got me interested, was this could all be leading up to a full-on reboot for the entire franchise, starting from the beginning. Ever since that came out, Haverock and I have mulled over this idea and have talked about it briefly in a few other videos, and our sentiments regarding this are pretty mixed. Today, I wish to go over some of the reasons as to why a reboot or remake would be good, as well as reasons, of course, why it might be a bad thing. Do let me know in the comments whichever side of the theory you are on, as well as good or bad reasons as to why a reboot might or might not work. Also, we'll alternate between good and bad, so you don't have to wait for one side of the discussion to come up minutes into the video. So with that, let's go. First off, a good thing. New fans being made. Now, this is quite simple to start off with. It's one of the most obvious things. New content brings attention. If Shueisha, the overall custodians of the Dragon Ball franchise, more so than Toei, made the announcement that Dragon Ball would be rebooted for the modern era, it would probably be trending worldwide on all social media platforms, and perhaps get some brand new eyeballs on it. Those who would have been a little unsure to get into the whole massive series might have a potential entry point which is a little less intimidating than the original examples. Hey, start from the beginning is much less intimidating than, the one of 500 episodes. Case in point, when Dragon Ball Kai came about, a lot of us fans recommended that Kai was a good way to get started with the whole production, as it's a little more flowing in pace. Until the final chapters came out, and then it was just, that just made us turn green. As green as the anime. But with the original Kai, the first 99 episodes, I did just that with my nephews, showed them Dragon Ball, and they seem to be really getting into it. And their favourite is Vegeta. Oh. So, if Kai could work with just a remastering and recutting of existing material, a whole new series from the ground up would produce even more hype. That's what Toei wanted to do in 2008, that was what Kai was meant to be, and they would have done that had Toriyama agreed to it and wasn't busy with Evolution. That was more important. And yeah, Toriyama was ending up actually being busy with trying to get away in edgeways with closed-minded Hollywood producers. I really do feel bad for Toriyama with that whole malarkey, I really do. In any case, Kai got new people into Dragon Ball, including my now nephews. So in theory, it should be applicable with a refresh of the whole widget. Easy win. Now the bad thing. Old fans get alienated. It just doesn't sit well. This goes without saying too. Ditching the old and swapping it with something brand new for no adequately explored reason, for some people, it will cause a gigantic meltdown. It just wouldn't be in keeping with the spirit of the show. I brought it up one time ago. Thomas and Friends being animated like this? A bucktooth? I'm sorry, I grew up with Thomas the Tank Engine, and that is just Why? Anyway, going back to Toriyama, his vision might be tarnished or sanitized all for the sake of a quick buck. Which is absolutely true. I mean, Disney's Lion King, anyone? If Toei did the same thing only with Dragon Ball, they make a bank on this. This in turn would cause a rift within the fandom, and you would have people up in arms about saying it's just not cricket. Then again, Dragon Ball is first and foremost, in the eyes of the people who own the show, intended for younger audiences, so, as far as they would think, "Oh, you're not the main demographic. Now shut up and buy the expensive Banpresto figures." Only in Japanese. And that whole thing is made even worse since the fandom has recently been through a lot of strife on Twitter. And to then have the original show, the thing that got the Dragon Ball rolling in the first place, being replaced for the sake of making money, would finally be the last straw for a lot of people. They would hang up their gi for good. Can Toei find as many new fans to make up for the loss of those fans? Maybe. Maybe not. Not a good thing. TV airings equals new merchandising opportunities. Fact. Being on TV gets you noticed, even in the web-orientated era of today. When Dragon Ball Super was airing new episodes from 2015 onwards, it got noticed and sent the profits of the franchise through the roof. For 3 years, Dragon Ball went from being number 3 in Toei's bank, still pretty good, to then being their most profitable property by a mile. But that original super spike was because there was a TV series. If Dragon Ball were to be rebooted from the beginning and provided new visuals, varied enough plots and good ratings, then the merchandising opportunities would be immense. And also, I think we can all agree, having some cool merch just to even look at, yeah, that's kinda neat. Remember my obscure Dragon Ball merch video? Go and check that out if you haven't. A lot of potential and scope. Now, okay, it might not be quite as high as Super's were in terms of profits, but I think it would certainly be enough to edge the series above One Piece in terms of overall profits again, at least in the short to medium term. So in terms of merch, you could have Team Bulma figures, those always sell well if you know what I mean. You can have King Piccolo getting some love too, in that regard, as well as maybe some new video games, a movie using the new formula in the fullness of time, brand new stuff for people to buy and consume, money for days, and you can even just rehash the old stuff if you want to use the same molds if you still got them. Not a bad thing. Why spend all that money? Just use edited reruns. Yes, okay, all of this sounds good, but it costs money. And Toei does not like spending money. I don't think many people do like spending money. After all, the Broly movie, it looks gorgeous, was made for under 10 million bucks. Then there was the Super debacle, rushing things into production for probably not that much premium. So why bother with all of the millions it would take to start from scratch again, when you can just repackage the whole thing with Kai? Just trim out more of the savoury bits for the Sunday morning slot, we'll get back to that again later, make it look nicer for HD TVs, and you're off to the races. It worked with Kai, so why won't it work again? Well, given the fact that now the new formula with final chapters, I don't want to see the original Dragon Ball going through that again. Yes, the profits would be smaller as some fans would not bother with watching the show, but it would still generate new eyeballs on it, and you could still bring out new toys and merch for it. Kai did this, and the difference in expenses and profits, yeah, you would still make a good enough difference with just remastering the old show, and some light modifications. But why is this bad? Well, the fans would still be jarred. If they were to watch it and they saw something they liked wasn't there, they'd be going, "Why did they get..." Good thing, you can bring in new Earth lore into the old lore. So let's say Toei and Shueisha went ahead with this. This could be an opportunity to bring all the properties into line with one another in terms of the narrative. All of the things that Toriyama introduced from Dragon Ball Z and beyond could then be reconstituted into the original series, and everything would make more sense. Old plot holes could be filled. New lore could be implemented into the old stuff regarding Earth. Haverock and I do sort of like this notion, so that there would be no longer possibly any need to shoehorn in fan-made explanations as to why things that didn't happen in Dragon Ball do happen in Dragon Ball Z onwards. It's a very rare chance to maybe have a complete compendium release from start to finish that all actually comprehend with one another. Again, probably for a huge price because we've got to have money. Bad thing. Old lore could be lost or made less significant. This chance to streamline everything is all well and good, but it could lead to some of Dragon Ball's quirks and eccentricities being lost in translation or lost entirely. The whole idea of Piccolo and his father being demons incarnate, might actually be diminished, since we already know that they are Namekians. How far do you go in adding the new Namekian lore into the old world without diminishing the whole demon return? Do you go forward subtly, or do you just crush it all in to make questioning fans shut up about the inconsistencies and old plot holes and oddities? Again, it's leading back to lowering the importance and impact of the original product. Another good thing, more focus on martial arts and grounded plots. This is a big one too, and I think a lot of fans would actually appeal to this. It can remind newcomers and oldcomers alike that Dragon Ball was initially built on the foundation of martial arts, discipline, as well as mystical adventures with some quirky characters around the planet, with the end prize being a very well-prized wish on the magical dragon. That formula was nice and simple, and you felt a strong sense of companionship, seeing these characters journeying together, learning from one another, becoming even further friends. This simple storyline doesn't have to be boring. It wasn't boring. Character interactions can be wholesome and engaging enough without the need to fly around the screen, scream for 10 minutes, and, with the right direction and camera techniques, you can really enhance the classic fight scenes that Goku has over the years to make the battles look so cool and frenetic, pretty much on par with the brand new stuff without the need for ki blasts every 2 seconds. Just all to see the sheer magnificence of the humanoid body darting around like mad through pure grit could be just as compelling. Bad thing. A Sunday morning syndrome. Here's the thing, we've said this a lot of times over the years, but it's still true today. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and even GT, were originally aired on Wednesday evenings at around 5 to 6 PM. That doesn't happen anymore. The market has changed, and nowadays, Dragon Ball Super is found on a Sunday morning around 9:30 AM local time. Now, things you can show at 5 PM, you can't really show at 9:30 in the morning, which makes reviewing it all the more difficult, also having to get up at 2 AM to watch the simulcast. But what does this all mean really? On prime time and in the evening, the amount of content you can have is more intense. You can really show the characters suffering and exerting themselves to superhuman values, really shockingly so. In Super though, that's been sterilized for a very, very long time. Like, really sterilized. I can count the amount of times blood's shown up on screen in Super on one hand. Most of the time it's just scuff marks and clothes looking sort of torn up, but not really. But hey, I guess it's just the way Japanese standards and practices work nowadays. Less violence, pure and simple. Everything else, sort of okay? That doesn't really settle well with an anime that is mainly about fighting people though. Would Dragon Ball Rebooted be compromised? Most certainly. Bad thing. Why do any of this? Goten and Trunks still connect with the younger audiences, right? Yeah, Toei, you still got Goten and Trunks. They're supposed to be the one that connects with the kiddos, right? Why bother with the reboot of the entire series when you can just keep them around, give them stuff to do, make them look young until they're 50? They're down with the kids, yeah? And it shall always be so. Yeah, okay, this was a joke reason, but the sentiments about this trope still stand. So, with all of that said, where do we stand on the matter? Well, we here at the MasakoX channel, if the choice was in our hands to reboot or not to reboot, we wouldn't remake or reboot it. Why? Well, put simply, it's impractical and unnecessary. Granted, it would be nice to see the original footage be refreshed a little bit, have a nice HD release on Blu-ray for the content, but the content should be as it was intended to be seen, and not modified to the point where the original spirit of the show is missing, or has been altered to the point where it's unrecognizable. The original intent is muddied. Remember the whole thing with the movies when they were remastering those, and Trunks was not seen doing something? People were up in arms about that, just for one little thing. If they did that with an entire series, oh boy, I wouldn't want to be around for that. But I understand that change is hard, and that in order for a franchise to live on, it needs to adapt to more modern mediums and sensibilities. For example, I've recently been getting into Star Trek a little more lately, as well as Philly has, and have noticed the series Lower Decks, a brand new one, which seems to be a more kid-ish friendly iteration of the series, animated. This is a smart move to bring younger audiences into the world of the United Federation of Planets, but will this be panned by subsections of the fandom? Oh, most certainly yes. It's just the nature of the beast with fandoms these days. Incidentally, I did my university thesis on the Star Trek as well as the anime fandoms. My tutor was a Trek fan, and warned me she'd mark me down if I was erroneous in judgment about the show. I got a 57. I should have picked something else, huh? Anyway, the main point of this discussion is that Dragon Ball doesn't need to go to all of that effort to reconnect with younger audiences and newer markets. It's already pretty big. This series is no longer the niche or obscure production of the early 2000s, remember. Dragon Ball these days is global and can get by with a simple formula of some video games, a move every now and again, and a straightforward brand new series, be it on the web or on TV. Heck, even reruns would do okay for the short term. Does the original Dragon Ball need rebooting? No. Has it aged well? Yes and no. Some of its content is very risque for audiences outside of Japan, and that might limit its scope for syndication or multiple releases on physical media going into the future. So what do? Easy. Buy the manga. It's regularly on sale on Amazon, and you get the closest connection to Toriyama's original vision going. So what do you folks think? Do you want to see Dragon Ball being rebooted for a more modern audience? Or do you feel it stands up enough still on what it's already produced for years to come? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!